Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. You may have noticed we are back to our old name. What was the Christian Agent is now officially the Faithful Agent again. And I just want to take a quick minute to tell you why. First, if you've been part of this community, this isn't new to you. The Faithful Agent is more than just a podcast. It's a movement the Lord is doing. It's our nonprofit. It's our training community. It's the heartbeat behind everything we do. And now it's the name that ties and keeps it all together. Here's what this means. This podcast is for real estate professionals who want to grow their business without losing their soul. For those who are tired of chasing closings at the expense of their family, their health, and their walk with the Lord. For those who want to do business with excellence, with integrity, and with eternal impact. You're still going to get real estate insight. You're still going to get practical tips and personal stories. But above all, you're going to get the truth that faithfulness is the real win. So, if you're a Christian in real estate who's trying to figure out how to do this the right way, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Faithful Agent. You were made uniquely, and we understand that, but for some reason we come back to our business and we say, no. We are all meant to be the same. How is that true? It isn't. It is not true. Who are you meant to be in this industry? Show up and be that with excellence. Welcome to The Faithful Agent, the podcast for Christian real estate professionals who want to win at work without losing at life. I'm your host, Garrett Maroon, a husband, dad, real estate team leader, and founder of the Faithful Agent movement. Each week, we explore how to pursue excellence, serve others, and glorify God with our businesses. If you're tired of chasing closings and ready to build with eternal impact, you're in the right place. I'm glad you've joined me today. And if you are watching this on video, which you probably aren't because nobody does, because I'm not that nice to look at, that's weird, then you know that I'm outside. And I've never recorded an episode outside. And I've got my AirPods in and figured it was too nice of a day for me to come inside. So I hope that this works. The audio is good and you all enjoy any ambiance that comes from being out in the Lord's creation. But today we're going to be talking about this reality, something that I care very deeply about. You don't have to be like everyone else to win. The reality in this industry, and we're going to unpack this today, the reality in this industry is they tell us there's one way to win. This is what success looks like. You have to be like this person. You have to do all of the things that they do, right? You have to cold call, door knock. You have to buy leads. You have to work by referral. You have to be on social media. You have to be on YouTube. You have to do all the things that success requires. And that's the only way you're going to win. When the truth is, that's not right at all. Your job, especially as a believer, what we understand is the Lord created each person to have different strengths, right? That's why in the body of Christ, there's arms, there's feet, there's mouthpieces, there's legs, right? There's all the different pieces of the body. We're not all of those pieces. The reality is your job at its truest sense is to figure out who the Lord made you to be and just be excellent at that. That's your job. You don't have to be great at all the things. You don't have to do all the social media. You don't have to do the cold calling. You don't have to do the door knocking. You don't have to do the open houses. If that's not who you're wired to be, you don't have to do all of those things. What you do need to do is figure out who the Lord made you to be and go be excellent at that. That's who He created you to be. We honor Him by being excellent at exactly that. So we're going to dive into that today. Ultimately, for me, the big idea is that success doesn't come from mimicking the top producers. It comes from owning your wiring, your values, and your calling. And I'm excited to expose maybe some of the lies that the industry has told us as we as believers really try to figure out how do we walk that out in faith? What does that look like? Who the Lord made me to be. But before I do, let me read this joke to you. Now, huge shout out to my friend Connie Shell. I texted her in a pinch and said, Connie, quick, I need a joke for the podcast. And boom, she hit me right back with multiple podcasts. Little did I know that she said she was totally available because she was getting a pedicure. And then she texted me and said, now she's moving to a manicure and so can no longer give me any more jokes. But you did us proud, Connie. Thank you for that. So no, this is not a Christian joke, but I thought this was funny anyways. My wife asked me the other day where I got so much candy. And I said, I always have a few Twix up my sleeve. That's funny, actually. I like that. You know, Twix are terrible for you, but also delicious. And I actually would like one right now. So if someone is listening to this and you want to mail it to me, send me a message. I will give you my address and you can mail a Twix and keep it cold in a cold bag. And so by the time it gets to me, it's not totally ruined. Okay, that has nothing to do with anything. Here's the point. We have to figure out who we are and be excellent at that. Number one, that's the way that we honor the Lord. We're told there's one right way to win in real estate, but that way might not fit how God made you. So that can't be true. Our job is to figure out who did the Lord make me to be and go be that. Now, I'm not saying there's not an avenue of us growing in areas where we need to grow. We absolutely do, right? One of the challenges and mistakes that a Christian agent makes is that we end up less than excellent. And that certainly does not honor the Lord. You better believe it does not honor the Lord. However, another more common mistake is we just do what everybody says to do, right? Your gifts, your wiring, your rhythms matter. You need a business that fits you because that's who the Lord made you to be. So it is, we could dive into this all day, but here's just what I see so often in that happens. I've been a coach for a long time. An agent comes to me. I'll give you an example. I was coaching an agent out in California, and for those of you who've been listening, I'm in Virginia. Coaching an agent out in California. We get on the phone, and she is one of the most energetic and outgoing extroverted people I've ever met. And that's saying something for me. You guys know I like to talk. I'm doing an episode by myself and laughing. So clearly I'm one of those people too, but she surpasses me in every possible category when it comes to that. And so we're get on the call. We're having this conversation. And she says she's worked 100% by referral. She does open houses too. Those were her two forms of lead generation. She gets on the phone. We're having a conversation. She said, Garrett, guess what I just found out? I said, tell me. And she said, I'm the number one agent in whatever her zip code was. I honestly can't remember. I'm the number one agent in the zip code. A mortgage lender just called me and told me. I said, first of all, that's amazing. Congratulations. What does that mean for you? And she said, you know what? I think I probably need to start doing mailers to them, right? Should I do geographic farming? So if you're not familiar with that agent, that's just picking a specific area and sending them mailers, essentially trying to get business from a certain area, which totally can work. All these things can work, right? It's a question of whether she should. And she said, I think I should start doing mailings. And I said, well, tell me why. And she said, well, I'm the number one agent in that zip code. So well, I don't know. Shouldn't I do that? And I was so glad she asked that question because we started to talk about what is her opportunity zone, right? What does that actually look like? What does that mean inside of her business? And so let me break it down for you. What that means is looking at how she has generated business in the past and how she is specifically wired, right? So she is highly relational. You can take all kinds of personality tests, disc profile, now I can't, Myers Briggs, right? All of these different personality tests. And you can try to understand that for yourself. But if you're a people person, you're a people person. If you're an extreme people person, you're an extreme people person. So where has her business come from? Where has she succeeded in the past? Open houses and referrals. Why? Because she is great at connecting with people. Anything in that bubble that is going to be face to face, voice to voice, connecting with people, that's her opportunity zone. Anything outside of that is the distraction zone, right? So that means, and she has seen that in her career, right? When she's cold called before, when she bought leads before, when she went out and door knocked. She'd done all the things that the industry said, right? Like many of us have done. She did all those things and none of them worked very well. Why? Because that's not her skill set. It's not her personality. So of course they didn't work very well. So we look and we create this opportunity zone, right? Most of us don't know how to make decisions in this industry. We just say yes to things that sound good, right? These shiny objects that really end up just being distractions for us because we don't have any way to make a decision. Well, here's what we laid out for her that you can lay out for yourself. Here's your opportunity zone. How have I generated business in the past, right? So for her, it was referrals and it was open houses. What are the commonalities there? Very, very, very relational activities, right? Being in front of people. She was great at that. So inside this small circle that is her opportunity zone, referrals, open houses, but really it's building relationships face to face. That's the opportunity zone. Outside of that is everything else. If it doesn't fall inside the opportunity zone, it means it's outside, which means it's a distraction. So we just looked at that. We built that out. And I said, okay, now you tell me if you're just mass mailing people you don't know, you tell me, is that inside or outside the opportunity zone? She said, well, it's outside the opportunity zone. Okay, great. So should you do it or not? No, I shouldn't. Right now, we had a way to make a decision. It is a seeking and finding and asking the Lord, who did you make me to be? How do you want me to show up in this business, right? And a lot of that is he's already shown us by the personality that you have. Every one of us is different and unique, and praise God for that, right? We don't need more of Garrett's in the world because we're loud and we talk a lot and no one would get a word in, right? We need people that are more thoughtful, quick to listen, people that are slow to speak, people that are more hospitable than I naturally am, people that are more humble than I naturally am. Now we need people like me too. I'm not, totally discounting that as well, but we need all types of people and we need all types of skill sets. And so when we try to be something that we aren't, we are, number one, ignoring the reality that the Lord created us uniquely and individually. And number two, we're buying into the lie that there's one way to succeed, and it's to look like everybody else. It isn't. Figure out your opportunity zone. What have you done well in the past? What is your personality type? And if something comes to you and it seems like a good opportunity because everything does, then you look and you say, okay, well, is that uniquely in my skill set? Right? If someone came to me and said, we were talking about this actually. I lead a faith and work call every week for our 210 Collective. And in the book Traction, it talks about the core focus, right? So what is the core focus? What is, if you've read the book Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell, which you totally should, essentially the story is about this man who owned a farm. Someone came to him one day, a priest came to him one day and said, look, here's gold. And one piece of gold will buy this whole county. And so he said, okay, great. I'm going to sell my farm. I'm going to go looking for gold. Well, his name is Ali. Ali ends up dying penniless, never finds the gold. Well, that same priest goes back to the man who bought the farm from Ali, and he is telling him the same thing. Look at the gold, it's so valuable. And he notices up on the hearth that there's a little piece of gold. And he asked the new owner, where did you get that? He said, oh, there's a stream that runs through this farm, and there is so much of this. It's all there, right? So what happened? Well, there are acres of diamonds, right? Now that I say that, it probably was diamonds, not gold, because that would make sense with the title of the book. But the point is, there's acres of diamonds right under your feet. We just get distracted. We lose focus. We don't stay in one direction long enough, of which I am guilty. And so we say, well, it didn't work. Well, is that true? Or did we not have a long enough runway? Right? Because most planes will take off if the runway is long enough. But when we give ourselves a short runway and we say, well, I tried for 3 months, it didn't work. So therefore, my natural personality of X, Y, and Z, of being in relationships, well, that must not work. So I better go find a way to buy leads. Right. And therefore, that's the new normal. That's how I'm going to do this business. Instead of saying, what is my core focus? Meaning, Lord, how did you make me? Lord, how do you want me to show up in this business? You all know my story if you listen to the show. In October 2022, after my mom passed, is when I started asking the Lord, who do you want me to serve? Right? Like, Lord, grant me a core focus. Where am I supposed to stay rooted and focused? And the Lord, in my opinion, made it very clear, Christian agents. So now my core focus is, how do I serve Christians in real estate? Because of that, I have very clear boundaries, right, and how to make decisions. I have a very clear pathway in how to make decisions. When an opportunity shows up in front of me, of which there are, right, all of us have opportunities, and a lot of them I create myself because I'm an entrepreneur, and you guys know what that mind is like. When those opportunities exist, I just run it simply through a filter. Now, it's more complex than this a little bit, but simply through the filter. Well, does this serve Christian agents? No? Okay, then I'm just not going to do it. As good as it sounds, I'm not going to do it. It's not my core focus. That's not who the Lord called me to be. The acres of diamonds are right under my feet. Now, it doesn't mean that we're all going to go get wealthy, right, from a human perspective. I don't mean that. Now, maybe we could. Maybe that's the Lord's purpose. What I mean is the diamonds are the blessings that the Lord has for us right under our feet. Will we believe? Will we believe that the Lord has already put our feet on the field that he wants us to plow? Or Well, we always believe that the Lord wants our feet to be somewhere else, and so we should never be satisfied with where we are. We've got to ask those questions. Lord, what is my core focus? Who did you put me here to serve? How do you want me to show up, right? And a lot of that, again, is already innately wired in you. Who are you, anyways? You've heard me talk about my business partner, lead agent Jesse, loves to fish, right? Loves to fish, does it all the time. In fact, as I record this, he told me today, texted me this morning, said, hey, I'm taking the day off and I'm going to go fishing. I said, great, have a good time. I would never do that. Now, part of it sounds fun, right? Sitting there and trying to catch something that you can't do anything with anyways. I don't know if he eats them or not. I have no idea. But the reality is this. I don't like fishing. I'd rather go play pickleball, right? I'd rather read a book. I'd rather hang out with my kids. I'd rather sit in the sun and, whatever, just enjoy that. I didn't choose that. He didn't choose it. That's just how we were wired, right? Why do you like certain foods and your spouse doesn't? I don't know. That's just how you were wired. You were made uniquely, and we understand that. But for some reason, we come back to our business and we say, no, 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 no. We are all meant to be the same. How is that true? It isn't. It is not true. Who are you meant to be in this industry? Show up and be that with excellence. That's how you honor the Lord. Right? One of the last pieces to this conversation for me, because I just want you to understand that. Figure out who the Lord made you to be and go be excellent at that, right? One of the reasons I think we often move our feet from the field we're on to the field next to us, or we go searching for another field, which I am totally guilty of, is because we look at the field that we're on. We look at the diamonds that our field is creating, or we never find the diamonds because we just don't stay focused long enough. But we find the diamonds on our field and we look and we say, well, Lord, I really appreciate that. But, his diamonds over there are much bigger and more valuable than mine. So clearly you must have wanted for me bigger diamonds, right? So I'm going to try to get myself over there. I'm going to pursue what this person has pursued. I'm going to compare myself to them and say, you must have meant for me XYZ, fill in the blank. And so because of that, I quickly let go of the field that I'm called and placed on specifically to harvest and reap and do the work. No matter where you are, it's hard. Running a business is just hard. There's no other way to do this. Will we honor the Lord by saying, Lord, this is the field you have me. I'll keep my feet right here and I'll keep doing the work. Will we honor him by saying, this is who you made me to be? And if I'm highly relational, which I am, and I'm wired to work by relationship, which I am, if that's going to take me to 50 deals a year and no further, praise God for that. If that takes me to 10 deals a year and no further, by being excellent at it, right? I'm not saying being lazy at it, but if I'm excellent at it and it only produces 10 deals a year and that's enough, praise God for that. That's okay. I don't have to be like everybody else, right? Now, maybe that produces a lot more. Maybe that produces less, whatever it is. But just because I'm not getting what everybody else is getting, just because my field in acres of diamonds is not the same acre as my neighbor, doesn't mean I need to operate outside of the way the Lord wired me to be, because he made me this way for a specific purpose. In the book of Esther, Mordecai, who's Esther's uncle, raises her. She ends up the new queen, and go read it if you haven't, but she ends up the new queen. And come to find out, Haman, who's this wicked counselor to the king, says, we're going to kill all the Jews. And Mordecai is distraught. So Esther tries to send him clothes because he tore all his clothes. And Esther tries to send him clothes. He says, no. And then basically he says to her, I'm paraphrasing, right? Go read it. Basically he says to her, hey, you need to go tell the king not to kill all these Jews, right? Because you're a Jew too. You need to save us. And she's like, well, if he doesn't pass out the scepter to me, then I'm going to be killed. You know that. And he essentially says, you're going to be killed anyways, right? If he destroys the Jews, you're not going to escape that. But he says, what if you were put in this kingdom for such a time as this? Right? This honest question. What if you're here for this specific reason, Esther? If everything leading up to this was for this moment, what if? What if? He doesn't know. I love the honesty. What if? He doesn't know. What if this is why you're here? What if, agent, you were given that skill set for a specific reason, for such a time as this? What if those clients that you're working with them for such a time as this? What if those relationships that you're building, you are in those relationships for such a time as this? What does that look like? What could that mean? And I guarantee you, what it doesn't mean is what the industry often says. You need to be counter to who you were created to be. The Lord gave you this. Awesome. I don't want you to be that. I want you to be something completely different. Right, Garrett? You're 5'6 3/4. That 3/4 is highly important when you're as small as me. So, Garrett, you weren't created to be a professional basketball player. As hard as I might try, it ain't going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. And so here's the reality. I could always look and say, well, I need to be something else. Or I could listen to everyone else and say, you need to be something else. Or I could look and say, no, 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 no. Lord, who did you make me? Work from my identity, not for my identity. Who did you make me to be? And I'm going to try to be as excellent as possible. That's your job. The freedom in that, right? To not please man, but to please the Lord. The freedom in saying, what does it look like if I just go pursue excellence? That's the question. My encouragement to me, to you, to all of us is most of our day, the devil's job is to distract us, to pull you away from your own acres and make you look at the acres next door, to show you the diamonds that you might get and to convince you they're not enough, as if the Lord didn't provide what you needed and you deserve more. All day, the devil's job is to distract us. We need to be in community with one another. Why? Because we need to make sure that those around us are saying, hey, hold on, hold on, hold on. You don't need to be somebody you're not, because that's not who the Lord made you to be. You need to pursue who he has called you to be and do that well. Each one of us plays a role. Each one of us is part of a bigger, broader, grander story than we can possibly fathom. We want to show up and honor him by just staying focused in the direction that he has. I'm going to end with this. The War of the Worlds was a radio show that was played out, and should have looked that up in advance. I don't remember when it was read on the radio, but it was before TV. So they read out this story about these weird alien robots coming and totally destroying the planet, basically. And then they did a remake movie of it with Tom Cruise in like the mid 2000s. I don't remember, but go check it out. Anyways, alien robots thingies coming and harvesting people and destroying everything. That's basically what happened. Well, there's this part in the movie where Tom Cruise is on the run with his son, who's I think maybe 17, and his daughter, who's maybe 10. They are trying to escape these alien things, and they run into this house, and they dock into this house, and they're trying to hide. Well, outside of the house, it's just chaos, right? A plane literally crashes outside. There's destruction everywhere, all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, they survive the night. And in the morning, Tom Cruise goes outside and he's looking around and he sees the complete destruction of everything and how terrifying it is. Well, they also have this van that somehow is untouched because, whatever, Hollywood. And they need to get to the van so they can leave. Well, Tom Cruise. Now, I'm not advocating at all that you look at Tom Cruise as any kind of spiritual example. However, in this scenario, Tom Cruise picks up his daughter. He goes to his 10-year-old daughter and he says, whatever her name is, he says, look only at my eyes. Don't look anywhere else. He picks her up. He holds her and they walk out, right? And she is looking right in his eyes, looking nowhere else. All around them is chaos. This plane is burning. People had died, like just chaos. She just keeps her eyes fixed on him. He walks her to the van. They get in the van, buckles her up, they drive away, and she's totally calm. In such a real way, that's what the Lord is asking of us. Just look right here. Let me hold you. Let me take you where I want us to go. And it's not into chaos, it's into peace. If your world is chaos, that's not the Lord. That's not what he desires for you. And the Lord says, come with me. I will take you where I want you to go, which is in peace. Doesn't mean life's going to be easy. Don't hear me say that. But it means that we're not going to be operating outside of what the Lord desires for us. When we look around, which I do all the time, when we look around, we start to freak out because the world around us is crazy. And we think, oh man, look at all this stuff. I need to run, right? I need to run away because I'm scared. Or we look and we say, look how terrible that is. I need to go do this because I don't know, everybody around me is doing it. I need to go be part of that. Instead of just saying, okay, Lord, please. This is what I love about the Lord's Prayer. Give me this day my daily bread, right? Every single day, come back to the Lord. Lord, carry me. Keep my eyes fixed on you. Grant me this day my daily bread. Be who you were created to be, brother and sister. That's the only thing we can do. That's how we honor the Lord. Be who you were created to be. Figure out who the Lord wired you to be and go be excellent at that. That's your lead generation strategy. That's your strategy in business. That's what it should be in this industry. We're thinking in my world, right? The 210 Collective, you might have heard me talk about that. And I'm just going to share this briefly. But what is it that our main focus is? Well, it's to pursue excellence, serve others, and to glorify God. What does it mean for us to pursue excellence? Well, it's to pursue who the Lord made us to be and go be excellent at it. What does it mean for us to serve others? How do we do that well? Well, we do that well by showing up as who we're called to be and doing that selflessly, putting others above ourselves, using the skills the Lord has given us. I am not a hospitable person by nature, right? I don't love people coming over to my house. Now, I can grow in that. Don't hear me say I should just ignore it as if it's okay. But if I was going to do that all the time and try to be that person because I thought that's who I was supposed to be, instead of letting my wife do it, who is so gracious and hospitable, well, that doesn't even make sense. If my wife instead thought she should be on this podcast because that's what she was supposed to do, and not me, that wouldn't make sense either. We play a role. We play the role with the cards the Lord has specifically given us. We best serve each other by doing that. And that's how we glorify God. That's my hope. At the end of all of this, every conversation we have, every time we talk about something different, every time we talk about business or thought process or have a guest on or whatever, the end goal is how do we pursue excellence to the glory of the Father? That's what matters. We're not building our own kingdoms. We're building His. 100 years from now, no one will even know I existed. And they won't know you existed either. Not in a morbid way, but they will know that the word of the Lord remains. So, who are we trying to build? Who are we trying to please? That's my challenge for all of us. I hope that you will go out in pursuit to glorify the Father. And if you need help figuring that out and pursuing that, I genuinely hope you'll reach out to me. Whether it's set up a call to learn about 210 Collective, whether it's join my free school community where we go live every single Wednesday and we teach and we train and we encourage one another. I hope that you will become part of the family in a deeper way because I genuinely have a heart to help you do this. And I need your help to help me do this and stay on that track too. I love you, Christian Asians, genuinely. That's why I show up every single week. I love you. I desire good for you, that you would go and glorify and honor the Lord by being exactly who He made you to be and doing that with excellence.
Hey, Christian agent, I get it because I am just like you. You got into this business for more time, money, and freedom, but how is that going? Maybe like me, you found yourself succeeding more often, but missing out on more family dinners. Or maybe you've been wondering this whole time, why are you working your butt off but not making any progress? Or you continue to see the people up on stage who you know lost their marriage, but they sold a lot of houses, so they get celebrated anyways. Well, the truth is, in 2 Corinthians, the Bible tells us to not be unequally yoked. We get so caught up in following the world's way that we forget to follow the Lord's way. And that's why I launched the 210 Collective at EXP, so Christian agents all over the globe could finally be in business together. We could finally be more excellent together, and we could finally be encouraged to set the right priorities and honor God by honoring our families above our work. So if you're ready to take your business to the next level and you want to learn, grow, and connect with other Christian agents, I'd love to talk with you. Head over to 210collective.com/podcast or click the link in the show notes to text me directly and book a call. You're not going to be talking to some member of my team. You'll be talking with me directly, and I promise to shoot you straight. I'd love to talk to you how we can get you plugged into an amazing community of agents who share your values and visions. So click that link in the show notes, text me, set up a time to chat. I would love to connect with you. Until next time, keep building your business with purpose and faith.